What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Elsperman. I'm your girl. And this is a space where we dive into all things understanding your life purpose, impact-driven entrepreneurship, and overall creating a life that makes you feel fully alive from the inside out. Sometimes we dabble in the spirituality, sometimes we bring in the high performer mindset, but overall it's about creating a life that is truly in alignment with your soul's purpose rather than what you feel like you should be doing in this world according to X, Y, and Z person or societal standards, but really creating a life that, as we said, makes you feel fully alive from the inside out. And today we got some new and fresh content because, as you all know, if you've been listening to the podcast, you've actually known this for a while. But I recently announced on my Instagram that Nolan and I are officially partners, not only in life, but also in business at Deep River Jewelry. So not only do I have the Fully Alive community, coaching, podcast, all of that good stuff that I get to do with you guys, but we are also building a company together, which has been such a wild and beautiful, blessed journey, something that I've shared on the podcast before. It was not something I could have ever seen coming. And it was not actually something that I intentionally wanted from the beginning, but something that felt like this call on my heart to build something together with my partner, and that two is always better than one. And can I tell you that it's been so amazing to get to really team up and to see what we can create together. No one tells you what it's like to work with your significant other. Like, we talk about living together, we talk about getting married, we talk about all of this, but no one ever tells you how to work with someone. And what I have found, especially in my community, is that there are so many people who, like, this is their dream, is to get to work and live and love their partner together, like to build something together. And that was one of the things that drew me to Nolan in the first place. Was like, from the beginning of our relationship 6 years ago, he was like, I want to build something with my partner because I don't want to be spending 8 hours a day completely separated, having these separate lives, and then just coming together for these glimpses of moments. Like, I want to be in it, building, creating together. And at first I was like, I don't know, like, I have my own vision, you have your vision, how are our worlds going to meld? But of course, there has always been a way, and I felt that call in my heart to team up with him, and it's been absolutely incredible. But in the beginning, I was like, okay, here we go. We're gonna have a really hard path with this because so many people are like, oh, I could never work with my spouse, or like, be careful what you wish for when you work with your spouse, and it's tricky in family business. I grew up witnessing a family business. Like, there's just deeper dynamics that happen when you have multiple roles that you're playing with each other. But what I can tell you is that it has been beyond our wildest dreams, more amazing than I could have ever predicted. I will be the first to tell you, like, come back to me in 6 months because we're still somewhat fresh into this and we haven't been in this for 10 years together. So who knows if we'll have different insights? We probably will. But what I can tell you is that it has, as I said, like, blown my mind open. We've made more money, we've made more connections, had more opportunities, we've become more loving to each other, more committed. Our romance is better, our sex is even better, our dates are even better. And I don't say that at all to brag. I say that because I never thought that was possible. I was like, oh shit, we're gonna have to work at all of these areas because now we're working together. And the reality is that there aren't that many examples that are like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And I want to share this side to show you that, like, it can make all of your life better, but it is not without its systems. There has to be something that grounds you back. Like, it's not just like we woke up one day and we're like, oh, this is the easiest thing ever. It's like, we have been preparing ourselves with systems to be put in place to really keep our business thriving and our relationship thriving. We don't really just leave it up to the universe to say, yeah, it's all gonna work. It's like, there are systems. It's not to say it's like hard work. The hardest part is setting up the systems. That's it. Everything else has been absolutely beautiful, but the hardest part was setting up the systems. And if you guys have been here for a while, you might have even remembered prep season from last year, which was basically the season of January and February, where we went really deep into systems and setting yourself up to receive everything that you prayed for. And I will tell you that I had no idea what I was preparing for at that time, but every single one of the systems that we set up during that time is exactly what have helped us keep our business grounded, our romance grounded, and everything thriving all at once. So what I'm going to do today is share with you those systems that have kept both our business and our relationship thriving as we are now entering into this new season of partnering together, which has been really fun. And there are 4 main systems that we will go through. So without further ado, let's head into it. So the first isn't necessarily a system, but a ground rule. And that is something that has, I will say, it's come a little bit naturally to us, but I think that when you love your partner, it will come naturally to you. And that is that we have our complete own areas of genius and we respect the heck out of each other's genius. And in fact, that's why I feel like the teamwork works, is because the skills that I have are not skills that Nolan has. And the skills that Nolan has are not skills that I have. And so every single day we're in this like continuous awe of when I see him and his genius, it's like, oh my God, I could never do it that way. Or my brain doesn't think in that way, it thinks in this way, and vice versa. And so this is like the first most beautiful thing in the teamwork side of things, is that we've gotten more experiences to witness each other in our genius. Otherwise, you're in separate rooms, separate areas for most of your life. You don't really get to witness that much of each other's genius as you do when you add in that next layer of building something together. And so we have absolute respect. I will never interject. Like, we have actually our own areas as well of the business that we are in ownership of. And I will never go into one of his areas of ownership and tell him like, oh, you should do it in this, and this way, because it's not going to work. It's his area of ownership. It's his area of expertise. Therefore, like, I can add in feedback if he asks for it, but it would never make sense for me to go in there and try and micromanage it, because I have my own background that has a certain way. He's an artist. He has his own background. So we have to be in ultimate respect and have that be the baseline. Otherwise, none of this would work. It would become too micromanaging. We don't want that at all. We still want like sexy, fun polarity to also exist. And that comes through deep respect and honoring of each other's strengths. And that was something in the way beginning that we did. We sat down, we really looked at, okay, what is Nolan's role and what is Steph's role? What skills do I bring into this space and what skills does he bring into this space? And where are areas of genius that we could nip in the bud real quick so that we could set that up from the beginning and just keep that as baseline absolute number one. That respect for each other is one of the most incredible byproducts, because again, we get to see each other in multiple different facets and multiple different areas of genius, and therefore our respect for one another has just, I didn't think it could grow, but it has totally grown. Now for the systems. The first primary system that we set up, we actually set it up last year, is doing a Sunday life meeting. So it can be any day of the week for you. If you like a Monday, amazing. But this is 1 hour sometime throughout the week where you touch base on all of the life things to set yourself up so that you're not having to waste your breath constantly throughout the week being like, what meal are we making? Where do you have to go on Wednesday night? What are you doing throughout the week? When am I cooking? When are you cooking? Like, we don't want to figure that stuff out throughout the week. So we have 1 hour where we figure everything out. Now we work out together. So we've started going to Pilates together for our mobility. It's the year of the lengthen and strengthen for us. And so we started going to Pilates together. So we will schedule our workouts on that day. So we'll actually like book our classes. But we'll also schedule when we're going to the gym. That's a little bit more flexible. We just go every other day. We'll schedule our meals. So typically I'll aim for 3 to 4 cooked meals throughout the week. I do not like to cook multiple nights in a row because I think personally it's a waste of time. I think that we can always make enough food for the next day, which usually means making like a 4x batch. Because if you live with a man, you understand. They go through food so fast. But anyways, we plan out like what are the 4 meals that we're having throughout the week. If we need to Instacart anything, we do all grocery delivery. Sometimes we'll go to like specialty stores here and there, but I personally am not a huge fan of grocery shopping. It's a really big energy suck for me, so I just completely automate all of that. So we'll do our Instacart, and we'll also go through our personal schedules. So if we are having any nights out or any meetings or anything that we need to be aware of, we'll have that. And if there are any like shared events and things like that, we'll just make sure that those are on the calendar because we have a shared calendar for those. Then we'll go through any household tasks that need to get done. Another system we have is we do have, it's not a sexy term for it, but we have a chore chart. We just have like our roles and responsibilities within the house, what he takes care of and what I take care of. So we'll go through if there's like anything that we need to fine tune for the week there, but otherwise they're pretty much set so that we don't have to have any conversations about who's taking out the trash, who's doing the laundry. We have it set in advance. Not even a point of conversation. I want to use our breath for other more interesting things, not figuring out household chores. And then if there's any decisions that we need to make, like life decisions, booking travel, anything like that, we'll do that within that meeting. Sometimes that means it'll go over an hour, but we're pretty flexible with it. And the goal is that we can go into the week, again, feeling on the same page. We're not having like any miscommunications. Of course, that will happen every so once in a while, but we are streamlined, we're aligned, and then we can focus on business stuff throughout the week. Now, the second system that we have is our weekly business meeting, where Nolan and I connect on business things. We do this during business hours. We don't do this on the weekend. We don't do it after hours. We do it during the day as if it were a meeting with a client or someone else, because we need to treat each other as such. And that's a really important thing. So it's on our calendar, it's recurring. So we'll first look at the business and project side of things, and we have our own zones of genius. So he actually does most of the jewelry projects. I do most of the brand building and scaling projects. So if there's any overlap for us, like I need his okay on something, or I need to run a few ideas by him and I want to collaborate on something, we'll bring that to the meeting, and then we'll have both of our brains at once, because the intention of this is to decrease on the amount of interruptions that we have throughout the day. One thing that we noticed, not having that much separation of space, it was really easy in the beginning for us to just like barge in whenever we had a question, more so me, because feminine urgency, I want to know now. But I would just like go in there, be like, I need your attention. And I knew that that was not going to actually be beneficial for either of our attention spans and focus on projects that needed our deep focus. So we set up this meeting to make sure that we could like come prepared with any decisions that we needed to make, any feedback that I needed, so that I felt really good and prepared going into the week, and he also felt really good and prepared. So we'll go through any projects, we'll see where they're at, see what we need from each other, any decisions that need to be made for the week, and then we'll also go through our team and who's on what for the week. Again, with the division of roles and responsibilities, I could go so deep into this, but I have my own side and the people who I work with, and Nolan has the people who he works with. So he is more so on the jewelry and crafting side, and I get to work with our lovely client coordinator and make sure that our projects are getting done and delegating in that realm. So I make sure I have any necessary information to delegate out. He has any necessary information to then delegate out, and we can both be in our realms and communicating with our own team members. So it's really looking at who's on what, so that there's no miscommunication, there's no balls being dropped. Of course, things are gonna slip through the cracks, that's just the nature of business, but we try and make sure that all of the bases are covered. And we also go through our content for the week, so what's being scheduled, what needs to be filmed, etc., so that the entire content, we actually use a content calendar, is filled out. And it's not like, oh, what do we need to post today? It actually, there's a structure to everything, and there's a system to everything. Because I think, you know, if you are building a brand on social media and it's just you and it's just a small business that you're creating, you can kind of get away with, oh, I need to make a post today. What should I talk about? To be completely honest, my brain is so focused on projects and bigger things that to then break focus, be like, what am I going to post today? That just, it doesn't feel like it works for me and my system. We go through the week ahead of time. We look at what are we launching? What projects are we finishing? And we load that into the content calendar and make sure that things are actually created beforehand. So it's not just up to chance, and throughout the week we can just post instead of constantly thinking, oh my gosh, we should be active, we should be doing something. It just, again, it's not a conversation I want to have throughout the week. And the third system is more so what we use to house everything. So you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast, I'm a Notion girly. I love Notion. I love organizing everything on Notion. Both of our businesses have our own Notion dashboards. My clients have their Notion dashboards. I love Notion for everything. So we actually have one centralized hub that is in Notion that Nolan has access to, I have access to, and any of our team members have access to, so that we can reference everything all in one place, and that we're not just like messaging each other and having to go through emails and texts to figure out where this project was. Everything is in one place. It's all on Notion. I could go into a whole other podcast around the specific systems that we have within Notion, like our content system, our project tracking system. There's so many things that go into it, but Notion is where we house everything. And let me know if you guys want a more in-depth episode on what those are. I also think that's just more of a mini training where you guys can visually see the systems than it is something that I can really talk out loud, but everything is over there. And also this has the intention within our relationship that there's not this constant like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? It's all in the Notion. Our conversations happen over there so that we're not having to micromanage in that way. And as we're going through things, Yes, I'm a systems girly, but I love simple systems. The more you overcomplicate a system, the less likely you are to use it. It has to be so simple to get exactly what you need done. And that's the most important thing. So if there's any part of you, and I've seen this with clients where it's like Notion can feel overwhelming or building out systems can feel overwhelming. First of all, I get you and I can totally help with that. But second of all, you start very simple. You start with exactly what you need, build out a repeatable process for that, create a way to visualize it. I use Notion to visualize the system. And then from there, you implement, but you keep it so simple. The fourth system that we use, and is just kind of an insight into how we keep the business going and our relationship going, is that we outsource a lot. And our intention is to get even better with this year, because there's a lot of tasks that it just doesn't make sense for us to be doing because we are entrepreneurs and we're building. So the first thing that we ever outsourced was our deep cleaning. I love to clean, but it is one of those things where I was spending my Saturday cleaning and I was like, you know what? We can either be resting, playing, or working. So let's just outsource that. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's my favorite day. We absolutely love paying our house cleaner. She's the most incredible, beautiful woman. And I feel like every time she leaves, our house is just infused with so much love and freshness. And I absolutely love it. The second thing that we outsourced is our grocery delivery. And this was one I had a time with this a couple of years ago because, there's some fees that go on to grocery delivery. So I was like, I can just go do it myself. But then when I started to realize, and if you're an entrepreneur, you understand this, it's like your energy is your greatest asset. When I went into Costco, God forbid, I love Costco. Nolan and I sometimes will still go on like a date there because it's fun to just look at everything. But for weekly things, I would go into Costco. It would suck all of my energy out. I needed a nap afterwards. I was like, this is not a useful use of my time. I would rather lovingly pay someone to be able to then bring our groceries. And also, as I'm going through this, I completely understand it is a privilege to get to pay for these things. This is where we're at right now in our business. And there are 5 million steps beyond that of what we could outsource. But we also understand what it's like to completely do it on your own and to be able to keep up everything. It's absolutely amazing. And you can set up systems to streamline it. And so if you're in the place where you're like, okay, I can't quite outsource too many things just yet because it doesn't make sense for my family, then set up a system around these things. At least make it easier and more automated for yourself. And a system is just a repeatable process. But again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time you're going to do it. Our system used to be for groceries is that I would make the list, Nolan would go to the grocery store. So I'd make the list, I'd write everything down. That was my responsibility. He loved going to the grocery store, so he'd go. There's other ways to simplify if you're not yet in the place to outsource. We also outsource our yard and our lawn work because as much as I like to be outside, and that was something that I always thought we would do ourselves, it is really lovely to have support and also someone who's in their own genius. And we attract the people that we love to pay. And that's the energy that we want to be in. Is like, I love outsourcing this to you because you're such an incredible human. Like, I want to pay you. That's the energy that we love filling our ecosystem with. And then we also have our lovely client coordinator as well as other contractors on the business side of things. And hopefully at some point we'll have someone in person as well to help with little tasks here and there. And so I share that to let you know that while we're doing a lot, we're not doing everything. We do outsource some things that our focus and attention can be on our relationship and our business. Because what we started to recognize is that if all of our time was spent, we still do a lot of chores, but if all of our time was spent working on the house, doing chores, doing things that feel like a must or a have to, then we weren't getting as much time to connect and focus on our relationship and play in the moments that we have. We're not necessarily the type of people who we have a cutoff time where we can't talk about work or no work's allowed on the weekends, because we love what we do so much that sometimes it's just really fun to create, or it's fun to go out on a date and talk about business ideas. But we do, of course, read the room. And if someone's at capacity, we just say that and then we don't talk about it. It's really easy. It's not that hard, right? But in the extra time that we do have, we wanted to be able to really focus on building our relationship, especially going into marriage, rather than looking at who's doing what around the house. And so that's been an incredible investment for us and for our businesses, and is something that once you start doing it and buying back your time, it really does become such a huge key to success, especially on the system side of things. So you start with what you can, and then you build from there. So those are my go-to systems, the things that we use to keep our relationship thriving and alive, as well as our business. We'll see how these shift and change. I'll have to continue to keep you guys updated But I hope that something from this resonates with you. And if you are in the place where whether you are working with your significant other, looking at working with your significant other, or just wanted to listen to this to adopt some systems for your life, if you're running a house or if you're just in your own personal life, that is absolutely amazing. And I hope that something dropped in for you. And I can't wait to take you guys along this ride of what it's like not only building something with your significant other, but also building a luxury company that hopefully will last for generations to come. That's how we're building it. That's the goal. And that's a much different take than just building a business that gets momentary success. So we'll see what happens next, but I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the time. As always, if you enjoyed this, it would mean so much to me if you popped over and gave this a 5-star review or even left a note on what resonated with you. You guys know, like any podcast that you listen to, it makes the host freaking day when you do that. And I love to see them. Or post this on your Instagram, share it with someone that you love, and I will see you on the next episode. Mwah! Bye!